Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report podcast. Today's guest is Vito Peleg from WPFeedback.co. It's an amazing tool for freelancers to help support their clients and get feedback, as the name suggests, of their WordPress website, what they're working on, and all of that fun stuff. So we're going to take the conversation, how he started from the back of a van all the way to building up a team of 12 to support his service agency, and then transitioned into this product place. We're going to learn all about that and learn some of the tips and tricks that he's applied to make this business work, and especially his summit. The virtual summit starts April 27th, so just a few days. You can register for free. I think there's going to be thousands of people that are going to attend this. It's pretty high up there. Check it out. Loads of great sponsors, great guests, great speakers, great attendees, all of that fun stuff. WPFeedback.co/summit. That's WPFeedback.co/summit to join the summit. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report podcast, season 9. I don't know. I haven't even thought about when I'm going to end season 9. Season 9 seems infinite at this point, but I think as soon as I get some kind of new story arc, maybe we'll transition to season 10, or we'll keep season 9 infinitely. That'll be my thing. Anyway, mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe to join that mailing list. Today we're joined by Vito Peleg. Did I pronounce that right? Vito Peleg?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Of WP Feedback. You can find WP Feedback at WPFeedback.co. And he's got a virtual summit coming. I've been interested to talk about his product and service. So Vito, welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So for folks who don't know who you are, what's that 2-minute elevator pitch? Who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So I'm Vito. I'm the founder at WP Feedback. I actually started building websites from the back of the van. As I got to kind of like the UK here, we were playing it as a rock band. And even though it was kind of seemed like it was doing well from outside, we were all dead broke. I started literally building sites as we were driving through Europe in a van, stopping by McDonald's to steal some Wi-Fi along the way. And from there, once the band split up, and I can see you have some white hairs in your beard as well. So once it wasn't cool anymore to live in a van, I looked for the next chapter in life, and I figured, all right, let's try and see what I can do with this web design business, that kind of small freelancing business that I already had. Within the first year, I got to 6 figures here in the UK, and by year 3, I had a team of 12 guys, grown to like a full-on agency. Focused specifically on WordPress, working specifically with charities. That was our main focus. And through that experience of scaling pretty fast, we found a lot of problems with communicating with clients and getting them to do what we needed. And that's how WP Feedback came about. We're building this tool for ourselves, first of all, and then it was released out to the wild about a year ago.
So, I mean, first of all, we're going to match not only in our facial hair, but in our regular hair very soon. If I don't get to a barber, if I don't, if life doesn't return to normal, speaking of that same note, there's a lot of people now, and I know because I've been I'll quote air quotes, donating my time, volunteering to a lot of small businesses in this area. A lot of people who've been put out from work. Have you seen from maybe the circles of community that you're part of locally, a lot of people saying, hey, this web thing, maybe I should get into this and make a couple extra bucks while maybe I'm unemployed, right? I think now more than ever, there's an opportunity for people to learn the power of the power user WordPress way, page builders, forms, connecting up the Zapier, like doing all these crazy things, that whole no code movement. What kind of opportunities have you seen? And maybe even from your own customers using WP Feedback?
Right. So first of all, it seems like you were saying at the beginning, that even though the world is kind of in shambles at the moment, our industry is actually doing pretty well. It seems like people need stuff online because they're stuck inside. So from what I hear from my clients, even though there was a couple of weeks of uncertainty where everyone went to like a survival mode just to figure out what's going on next, it seems like now it kind of stabilized and even growing. I even saw an interesting article by Freemius yesterday. They kind of benchmarked the entire Corona time when it comes to sales in the space compared to previous years. So you could actually see that it grown in March compared to previous Marches in previous years. And I think it's the same. I think that like getting into WordPress or getting into web design, if you have the knack for it, if you like the creative part of it, then this is the perfect business. Like that's what I found myself doing for the past decade.
And it doesn't even have to be creative in the sense of design. It could be creative in the sense of problem solving, right? Because
True.
that's one of the great things about WordPress is you can solve so many different problems
Very
with the
true.
available tools.
Very true. I would say even more than design,
Yeah.
because a good problem solver can find solutions where others are just, like don't know where to look.
What's your thoughts? And this sort of an aside, but it's been on my mind lately because, I have this YouTube channel where I do WordPress tutorials, and
Right.
you get the occasional person who comes by and is like, WordPress is garbage, right? And they
Right.
might use some other expletives that I don't want to use on the iTunes show, but they'll say that WordPress is terrible. It's not coded right. It's not a great solution. I don't know. School me. I don't understand any other platform where I can, this last commenter said he could develop a site faster than he can in WordPress. There's not a chance in eternity that you could install WordPress, Gravity Forms, and WooCommerce and do that same thing hand coded in less than 5 minutes. It's just
For
possible.
sure. Like I remember because my first website was in GeoCities. If you remember, that was like 20 something years ago. And yeah, like there was no idea of framework or content management systems back then. And yeah, you wrote everything by hand. And there's no way that anything else is as efficient as far as I know. But like it kind of depends on where you're going with this, because there are the people that need a quick website, and WordPress is not the solution for them. That's how I see it. There's like the Wixes of the world and the Squarespace and all of that. But then you have the hardcore developers that are just kind of like they want to code every single thing, but it's not economic. If you think about it from from running a business point of view, why? Makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. Why would you build something from scratch if you can just pick it off the shelf?
Yeah.
Or at least take 80% and modify it. That's the even beauty of open source, and you can get take something that is 80% and add your own custom 20% to create something truly unique. So that's my take on this. But I also think that coding languages is kind of like bands or like sports teams where you only root for your own, and
Yeah.
you never you dash everyone, you bash everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, that's human nature's across the board on
Yeah.
everything from your favorite potato chips to your favorite, president or
Sure.
minister. It's insane. So let's just talk about, before we get into the product, a couple of questions on the service side of the business. You found yourself accelerating pretty quickly from beginning. Some people, it takes them, years to achieve what you did. Maybe some people don't set their sights on building a team as large as yours, but
Sure.
there's always this roller coaster ride of finding business. Was there one thing that you think you did really well that really accelerated the business, especially given the fact that you're sort of, air quotes again, doing it out of the back of a van?
Right. Back then, as an agency owner, for sure, the time the everything was really sporadic, and there was no system in place for a couple of years until I got a team, and then you gotta cough out the dough every month. It doesn't matter if you got the work or not. So I started to build systems that are more sustainable. One of the strongest, and I think everyone is just preaching that, but it took me a couple of years to do, and I know that for most people, it takes a couple of years for them to just take this step. Just find your niche. That's the strongest thing that you can ever do for your business. Find a group of people that you can serve with a unique differentiator. Just by saying and working with a certain group of people that do something, you develop expert skills that no one else will have. So that was that was the biggest thing that we did. Once we had the niche, everything else fell into place when it comes to where to find them, how to market to them, how to speak to them, what kind of language does make sense to them. And yeah, so it all comes down from who you're speaking to. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that for years I was trying to approach everyone, like a lot of us. But when you think about it, really, your messaging cannot resonate if you don't know who you're talking to. In the same way that if you go to the bank, you talk to your bank manager, in the same way that you talk to your mom, it would never work because you gotta direct your how you speak to depend on the person you speak to. So
Yeah.
yeah, find the
It's
niche. That's for sure.
it's that repeatable. It's like there's so much to once you can find that perfect customer that you work with. And look, in the beginning, hey, I'm sure you went and you built a website for, a restaurant and for a
Yeah,
bank and for a nonprofit. And then you start to gather, no pun intended, the feedback of those experiences. You're like, boy, I really don't really like working with the restaurants, not tech savvy, no big budget. The banks, my God, they wanted me to sign all these illegal contracts. I don't want to do that. And then you found like a good fit, some good middle ground. And so,
very
yeah,
true.
so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm struggling with it. Yeah, it takes a little time in the beginning, but you're just going to be cognitive of, I need to find that perfect customer and align with them, because that's what really paves the way to a systemized sales process, an onboarding process,
100%.
everything.
Everything starts there. And yeah, I just 100% agree.
Yeah. I remember. So when I started my agency, I don't even know, like whatever it was, over 10 years ago at this point. This is at the dawn of when Facebook pages came to
Right.
life, right? And that was like a thing, and people are like, oh boy, I need to be on this social media thing. I remember like we printed out all of these postcards, and we had like these 3 price points. Like, we'd manage your social media for $49 a month, like
Right.
something so stupid, like it would never even happen, these days.
I had exactly the same business about
Yeah.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, because that's what entrepreneurs and problem solvers
Yeah.
do. We look for opportunity, we try to solve a problem, and we put
It's funny.
a dollar a denomination on it, and to try to find some value in it
Yeah.
for both us and the customer. So I'm interested to learn, at what point in the service business, did you start to invest in WP Feedback, the product? Like, was
Right.
it born from those experiences? Did you start like something early on with customers and got feedback? How did that all roll out?
So for me, it was like I still wanted to grow, and to scale the agency model is a nightmare. Because like every hour that you sell, you got to bring more people, and it never ends. And I didn't like that, so like I got to a point where I had my 12 guys, and we got to like kind of this glass ceiling, maybe even of the agency model, and the only way out is to productize. So I actively looked for ways of doing that, not even noticing that we had this thing. And we just built that as something that we needed for ourselves, because the thing here is, in the UK, charity trustees, which was our big, like the most of our target audience, the average age is 74 years old. So that was our customer. And we had to teach them how to work digitally on a lot of stuff. And it was a nightmare in a lot of cases, just to get the point across. So I tried to look for a way for us to solve this problem for us. And that's why we did like a really scrappy, I asked one of my designers, one of my developers, let's invest 2 weeks and create something scrappy that we can use, and let's see if it works, And that's what we used for a couple of months while I was out looking for ways to productize and to do something, and, maybe an online course, and maybe this, we've all been through these thoughts. And then this just worked like magic. And so when I started seeing the responses coming in from our clients, I said, all right, let's see if there's merit to this outside of my own company. We ran market research, a small market research that we did on our own, with 600 WordPress professionals to see how they run their WordPress business. When I found that this is a massive problem for the majority of the industry, I said, all right, let's see how we can take this to the next step.
How did you where did you start to curate that list of 600 people? A lot of times we hear this, find a problem. Justin Jackson famously talks about this, is like, don't invent a new market space, find a problem that you can solve. So some people, dive into a Facebook group or a forum. Like, how did you curate the 600 and push momentum for people to fill out that information?
So I wanted 100. That was like our number. We needed 100 people to test it and to tell us what they think and to just play with it. We put this on 3 Facebook groups, just random WordPress Facebook groups. Just a short mock-up video of me clicking something and you see that little pop-up. And within the first 30 days, we got to 1,300 signups on this thing just from putting a nice idea on some Facebook groups where people are already looking for solutions. And out of those 1,300 people, 600 filled out the survey.
Okay, so you led with sort of the MVP of the product, the idea,
Yes.
the feature set, and stuff like that. People said, "Yeah, I want something," and then you said, "Let me back that up with asking some survey questions first."
Exactly, about their own business, how they run how they collect content, how they provide support. Also, we asked some stuff about their tools. What is your go-to theme? What is your go-to page builder? So that we can make sure that our plugin is compatible with all of the big ones straight out the gate.
So let's frame it. What's the product? What is the product? I mean, I
Right.
know, but you know that there's people listening to this that don't know.
Yeah.
What is WP Feedback?
So the idea of WP Feedback is to fix communications for WordPress professionals. The way that we tackled this thing is by creating an experience so that you can click any element within the website to leave a comment where the request is. It's kind of like post-it notes on the actual website. And the beauty is that it not only allows the customer to literally point at what they need from you and just say, I need this change, make this bigger, instead of all of the following sentences about describing where we are and what we're doing. Just point and say. But also we're collecting a full screenshot of what the other side is seeing so that you have full clarity as to what you're dealing with. We bind that request to the div. So when you click on a button from that email, it takes you to the place, scrolls down to the area on the page and pops that message open right there for you. Also collecting some technical information like the browser version and the screen size and all of these kind of stuff. That's the core of it. Of course, over time, we developed further and created our dashboard that allows you to manage all of your websites from one place, which is what our vision is, to essentially replace your inbox, replace your email with this tool that is a lot more efficient and makes a lot more sense than a 30-year-old tool that was never designed for this purpose.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just I think it was Paul Graham, famous venture capitalist, the other day posted, boy, if somebody proposed the idea of the caps lock these days, it would be like, why would we ever put a caps lock key on a keyboard? But like you said, 30-year-old technology or greater at this point, why would we introduce something different? So the customer has, you're a freelancer, you're a consultant, you're running WP Feedback on your website. Your customer can then say, hey, I'm having a problem with maybe using this theme that you designed for me, this WordPress site. And then they say, let me report this issue to you, Mrs. Consultant. And then the consultant sees that feedback and then can help that
Exactly.
customer. Is that the gist of it?
It reduces all back and forth. That's the idea. And we all know what a pain that is to try and understand what the other side is talking about. Sometimes they call like the menu links, whatever, labels or banners or whatever. Just the terminology is not there because it's not the place to know the stuff that we know. So the idea is to make it as simple as literally pointing at it, because this is a human behavior. You want to point at something and say, I don't like this, I don't like that. Change this, change that. So that's exactly the experience that we're trying to mimic digitally.
So when I'm on wpfeedback.co, I see the free version, but it's not download now, it's join the network.
Sure.
What is that about?
So there is no free version for WP Feedback Pro, which is what we were talking about until now, the concept of those stickers. That's how the company kind of started around this product. But through the experience over the past year, the community has become such an integral part of what we're doing that we decided to place a lot more focus around this and basically expand our mission. The mission for WP Feedback from day one was let's fix communications for WordPress professionals. And from my point of view as an agency man, I could see that as like the communication problem that I had was between me and my clients. That's the communication flow that we needed to fix. But now from where I stand as a product maker and more engaged in the community, I see a lot more communication breakdowns that are happening in our space. For example, and that's what the network is about. The idea is to create one hub that we can all huddle up together and just do stuff. When it comes to feedbacking each other's designs, giving inspiration to each other, asking questions. So we got some of the top influencers in the space to manage groups inside the network. So if you have a security question, you can go and ask Oliver directly from WebArc. So if you have a privacy question, you ask Hans and Donata from Termageddon, and so on and so on. There's a few dozen awesome experts on there. And again, it all comes down to that mission of let's break down the communication breakdowns and just work nicely together.
So when we go to the pro side, just taking a look at the pricing, because I think most people listening, they're always interested in how to, or how they would configure their own pricing. I mean, I know that pricing is always this thing where, sometimes you just walk outside your office, stick your hand in the air and go, okay, I'm going to set the price to, whatever, $50 for this one
Sometimes
license.
It is, yes.
And that's literally how, a lot of people start. I know I've got plenty of stories on how I've done pricing over the years, but I see now for the pro version, one site, $79 paid yearly, 5 sites, $159 a year. And then agency paid yearly, $299 for 100 sites a year. Then of course you have the monthly, which is looked to be probably maybe the most popular at $47 a month for 50 sites. Did you roll out pricing like this from the start? How did the pricing change? What was, what lessons did you learn there?
Sure. So instead of going through the route that you described, which I've gone down this route many times before, this time I had a group of people to ask, because we had our early adapters, and I just asked them in the group, like, how much would you pay for this before they got it? And I got I got numbers from all the way down from $9 for one domain per month, all the way to $700 for a lifetime deal and stuff like that. So each one kind of created a little poll on the Facebook group in there, and these are basically the prices that you see in front of you now, a year after. Still, there was one addition, which was the monthly plan. The strategy behind this, or the idea behind this, is first of all to create more pressure on us. That's kind of like on purpose, because when you sell yearly, you only have to prove yourself once a year. Right. If that makes sense. But if you're running a monthly service, every month you're being tested. And I like that. I like that kind of pressure on us and on the team to make sure that the product is awesome every day of the year. That's the reasoning behind the two different models you see there.
Plus, I'd imagine that for anyone who's buying, let's say, I don't know, just like the single license, for example, and maybe, maybe you've got some secret sauce in here that avoids this, but maybe sometimes you might get somebody who's like, okay, I'm going to install this on one site.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to help the customer launch the site. It's going to take a couple months or whatever. And then they pull it off and maybe they put it on the next site, right? And they go and they help another customer, which I guess might be fine in your eyes as long as they're paying for the year. But on the monthly plan, you might get people who want to consistently support their customers, right? It's not like you're going to be taking away and pulling it back kind of thing. You want them to consistently help their customers.
And that's what the magic is. And that's what I try to preach to our audience as well, because care plans is life when it comes to the business model. So like, if you have an opportunity to maintain a customer long-term, then you should be doing that. And that's what the tool is all about. So people, you can use it through the build to get the content and to approve the design. But the real magic is after the build, when you're supporting the customer on an ongoing basis. They're already used to the system. More than that, when a customer is in project mode, and we can think about this for ourselves. Every time we are in what I call like project mode, we are engaged with that person, with the other side. We make sure that we clear out some time on our schedule to make sure that we deliver on what we needed to do to complete that project. But once a project is complete, it's gone to the back of our heads. We have another project already in the works, right, as business owners, and that's when the other professionals come back to us, we give them those one-liner answers, which is horrible when you're trying to support someone and all you get is like, the button is not there. What do you mean? There's like a 1,000 buttons.
Right.
So when it comes to support, that's when you want to give your customer the ideal experience of just giving you those 3 words, but still get the full picture through something like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is like the the beauty, the pain of service and agency life is like there are no rules, right? You can do whatever you want as a
Right.
web consultant. You can sell somebody a site for $500. You can sell
Yeah.
it for 500,000.
Yeah.
But what keeps the business going, what keeps momentum, again, no rules. You spend a lot of time. Like, so I think most people fall into this trap. It's like, boy, it's tough. You gotta make the sale. And some people aren't very good at doing the sales part of it.
Yeah.
And then they just want to say yes, because why would they ever say no to somebody who wants to give them money? And then it's like they work so hard to just complete the project that they forget, like, oh, I have to continue to support this customer.
Yeah.
And by the
And
way,
that's where
there's
the
money
profit
there.
is. Yeah, that's where the money is.
Right.
Not in the initial project. The initial project is like customer acquisition.
Right.
After that, when you can support a customer for even the basic care plan of $100 a month, is another $12 a year that you generated from one project. Not even talking about them needing a booking system all of a sudden and a client management area. Then they have like those monthly blog posts and whatever. If you're doing it right and you're helping your clients grow their businesses through the website, then there's loads of other opportunities if you maintain that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of relationships, that's sort of the lead in to WP Feedback. Is there's this free community that professionals can join. It warms
Yes.
them up to your brand. It gets content in front of their face, and there's value there. And oh, by the way, maybe, just maybe, they'll buy WP Feedback for their own business. And here we are today. You have a virtual summit on the
Yes.
horizon, right? Tell us about that, and tell us what the goals are behind it.
So the idea with the virtual summit came after Jan joined the team, Jan Koch, who joined us as the CTO recently. And he did the biggest online summit in the WordPress space last year with a little more than 2,000 attendees that happened there, really very close to when WordCamp US happened. That was going on online. And as it was coming in, it made perfect sense to run these summits from the network, from inside that network that we're building. So the plan was to do it in like June, but with everything that's been going on, we said, all right, let's take this as a challenge and let's make it happen now. What I didn't expect is the amazing kind of support that we got from all of these companies that you see on the sponsors lists over there, and the incredible speakers that we have that are working with us to make this summit even bigger than it was last year. But the biggest thing that I'm really excited about is the innovations that we did here. So instead, like I'm sure that by now a lot of us have been going to these online summits. And again, we found a lot of communication breakdowns inside that experience, a lot of communication flows breaking down and literally communication breakdowns. When it comes to an online summit, it's literally like a stack of webinars, if you will. And what we try to create is a true networking experience, a true conference experience. So you have those different areas where you can hang out with hundreds of like-minded professionals. But if you need a more kind of quality conversation, you can dive into each one of the little hangout spots in there and really create those small clusters where real magic happens when it comes to building relationships. More than that, when it comes to sponsors, we all have to get all of these free stuff from sponsors and learn from them about what's coming up with the products we use every day. So we created sponsors booths that on each booth there is a unique experience for that particular sponsor. We can go in, you can meet them and just chat with them, as well as win loads of free prizes, some crazy prizes that they're coming up with. And basically, it's not innovative. It's not innovating into anything that we've seen in the physical world, but it's bringing that entire experience online.
And is that powered by some kind of secret technology that you've developed, or is it?
Yes. Well, we're using WordPress, right? So
Yep.
nothing is really secret in there. But we, again, like we said at the beginning, when you know how to solve those problems or to think creatively to create something from that platform, we managed to leverage everything within WordPress. We did have to custom the hell out of it with a bunch of stuff, creating the first ever live comments feed. I can't believe that no one did that before.
Mhm.
So we had to do that to support the comments feed on the summit itself. We had to create like engaging sponsors booths, video calls embedded from Jitsi into WordPress, which is another open source project. Yeah, it was a bit of a technical challenge, but definitely worth it.
So again, an experience in all sense of the meeting, right? It's not just, hey, I'm going to boot up my
Yes,
Zoom client and I'm just going to watch people from a distance. You're going to, number one, log into this customized experience where you can hop into those literally different rooms where, it's
exactly.
almost like, you're listening to the keynote speaker, and as you walk out, you can kind of hear them talking, and you get further away
Yeah,
and you walk into another room, and it's like, it's the happiness bar or whatever the heck
yeah.
you might call it.
That's exactly the idea, and you said it perfectly, because when you go to an event, you are there, but when you go to an online event, in most times it's like open in one tab out of the 200 tabs that you have open, and you jump into a Zoom call, you stay there for 5 minutes, but once the Zoom call is kind of done, you close that window and you're out.
Yeah.
You're out, you go get a snack.
Right.
So that's that. These are all the small communication breakdowns that ruin the entire experience for you, because you're just jumping from one place to another instead of fully engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. But I tell you, the one thing that this pandemic has increased is people's awareness to technology, right? I
For
mean, there's so
sure.
many small businesses now, like, when I would talk, when people, so I do a lot of, what do you call it? Advising. I'm a mentor at a local accelerator in my
Nice.
area, and these are a lot of these businesses coming through. They're just like traditional, businesses. They're not tech businesses. They could be a new restaurant. It could be a
Right.
new, charity or whatever. Anyway, the point is like I would send them Zoom links, and they were like, I don't even know, what is this? What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't have. Can I just call you? And now I'm just like, yes, we're all gonna be doing this online now. Finally.
Finally, yeah. For years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
crazy that it took that to actually get people to just adopt a bit more technology into their lives. Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
where can people find access to the summit, and how much does it cost?
It's free, completely free to join. We have 5 full-on days of talks, and we're serving multiple time zones. So there's 24 hours, not 24/7, it's 24/4, because that's the
Yeah.
length of the event, of straight talks and networking events, and massive, like, everyone in the community is a massive party for the community. Come join us for free. wpfeedback.co /summit.
Summit. Very, very good. And the product itself, wpfeedback.co, the same exact thing. Well, number one, you can
Yes.
join the network. I'm sure if they join the network for free right now, they'll get access to see the summit stuff.
Yes,
But
it's all happening inside the network. So if you're in the network, you have a little button inside there to say, yes, let me know about the summit, and you're in.
awesome. And then wpfeedback.co, the product, you can go there and check out that pro version. Again, starts off at, well, it was $79 for a single site, 47 a month, right? Or 49 a
True.
month for
47, yeah.
50 sites, if you want to do this ongoing support for your customers. I mean, it looks awesome. I've seen it ever since I came across your radar. So props
Awesome.
to you and your team for
Thank
putting
you.
all that stuff together. And of course, the summit. Where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
To meet me personally, you can find me on Twitter, Vito Peleg. And for the company itself, yeah, just go to wpfeedback.co. There's a little, we call it in the company, internally, we call it Vito bot. There's a little Vito bot at the corner. So you can interact with them, and that goes to me sometimes.
And are you in a band right now? Are you running a band? Is that what you say?
No, I'm just my full extent of playing music at the moment is the guitar that is right here with my
Yep.
wife a little bit in the evening.
Yep. That's it. Very cool. Very cool. Everybody else is mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe to join that mailing list. We'll see you in the next episode.